So, Alex Hicks, just Alex, formerly Deluxe Man, did a video live stream today where he basically asked everybody if he was a WWE hater. Now he basically he set this up, basically this live stream a couple of days ago, about a day or so ago, and he asked everybody all across his social media, from Facebook, Twitter, and the YouTube post section on his channel, whether or not he was indeed a hater because of how he criticizes and talks about WWE and seems to favor AEW more so than WWE itself. And a lot of folks, including myself, basically said that no. We unanimously said that no, you are not a hater. You just basically want the product known as WWE to get better. And Alex said it himself towards the end of his live stream that the reason he is harsh on WWE and the reason he doesn't view himself as a hater, either, is because WWE's been around longer, and that basically they should know better as to when the time is right to evolve, get better, and be the company that he knows they can be. Instead of letting a company like AEW and Impact Wrestling and New Japan and all these other promotions start coming for them from behind. In other words, they're coming for that ass, as he calls it, to try to topple them and dominate them and be the next and be the new standard bearer as far as wrestling companies are concerned. So, basically, to me, I don't think Alex is a hater. The same with the fact, believe it or not, that I don't think those that bash AEW, that are looked at as WWE Defenders, I don't think they're haters either. You see, what I see, basically, with those WWE Defenders is people that want the product to basically, like I said, basically, I don't think, even those that bash AEW, hate them. I don't think the WWE Defenders hate them either. Just like, we all look at people like Alex and, Jason Solomon, the Solomonster, OJR Central, Aaron Rift, and Jeff Meacham of No DQ, Don Tony, Kevin Castro, JD from NY206, the list could go on, just Alex, like I just mentioned. I don't think any of them, like myself, are WWE haters. They just want the product to get better. And the same could be said, believe it or not, for those that, as I was mentioning before I had to let my dog out to go to the bathroom, the same could be said for those that, bash AEW. It's not the fact that they feel AEW is just a niche company or anything like that. It's the fact that they just obviously want the people, the fans that follow AEW, and even those that work within AEW and those that compete for AEW, to come out and admit that they are just like what WWE says they are, and that is sports entertainment. Because one of the things that they'll come out and defend WWE about is the fact that they have wrestling, that the company was built on wrestling, which is why they still have wrestling and they allow wrestling matches. But to basically be able to book in other states or regions of the world, or regional counties here in the U.S., in some of those areas across the 50 states, I should say, the only way WWE could do that is to say that they're not wrestling, but they're sports entertainment. That they are an athletic, they are basically about athleticism and competition, but not about wrestling. And, that's how they're able to book themselves in certain areas across the country, if not the world, because they go by that, philosophy of, hey, we're sports entertainment, we're not wrestling. It's, because the fact is, they're not hiding the fact that they're a wrestling company. They're just using a different terminology to get access to book their events and any, charity like, events as well, like, like Make-A-Wish and, be a star and all that. The only way they're able to do that is to not, not basically let it be known that they're a wrestling company, but they're a sports entertainment company. And that's what I think one of the main, if not the main reason, you have a lot of these WWE Defenders, as people call them, hating on AEW. It's not the fact that they hate AEW. It's the fact that they hate the fact that AEW, those within the company, those that compete for the company, and the fans themselves don't want to come out and admit that AEW is also a sports entertainment company. And that's it. And, because they won't do that, you see a lot of disdain, a lot of, hatred or biasness, against AEW because of the fact that they won't acknowledge it. And it's not just the fact that AEW, from their point of view, is not acknowledging that they too are sports entertainment or a sports entertainment company. It's the fact that they're not acknowledging that all AEW is doing and becoming is the 21st century, the 2021 modern day version of WCW with a bit of ECW sprinkled in. And what I mean by a bit of ECW sprinkled in, you have the hardcore matches as well as you have that, niche, die-hard fan base that doesn't fault them for anything. Basically, when they say that, they're like WCW for the modern era with a bit of ECW sprinkled in, besides, like I say, the hardcore matches and that fan base, that they're also, in a way, a company, for the fans, run by fans or by a fan, if you will. And I know that sounded a little bit more convoluted than it should have. I do apologize, but basically that's one of the other main reasons why they have this, I guess you could say, this disdain or this distrust, this biasness towards the company. Not because they won't admit that they're sports entertainment as well, or a sports entertainment company, as well, like WWE, but because they won't come out and admit that they're nothing more than a modern day version of WCW with a bit of ECW sprinkled in, and that bit of ECW is the die-hard fan base, the hardcore matches, and the fact that they're a company for the for the fans. They're a fan-oriented company like ECW was and WCW was to an extent. Especially later on in its final years. But even with all that, another reason why there's some disdain, basically, by the WWE Defenders, as they're called, is because and this might be the stupidest reason they can come up with, if you will, but the reason. The other reason, probably the third and last reason I want to bring up here, and again, like I said, it's probably the stupidest reason, that, they bashed AEW, or they're biased against AEW, to disdain them, they hate them, and all that, isn't because of the fact that they don't want to admit they're a sports entertainment company as well. They don't want to admit that they're just WCW 2.0 with a bit of ECW sprinkled in for the new modern era. But the third and final reason, and again, as ridiculous as this sounds, and you can thank people like TWR, Top Rate Work Production, TRW, or TWR, Top Work Rate Productions. But the other reason is because some people think AEW is actually run in secret by WWE, and that the fans that are diehard AEW fans don't see that, and they don't want to admit it, or those that are within AEW, either working behind the scenes or competing for them now, don't want to admit it either. And yet you have people like TWR and several others, more so than I think we can give credit, or we can even account for, I should say, that come out and believe this, because they feel it's just too ironic that the first place a lot of these former WWE talents go is AEW. So to me, that third and final reason why you have this biasness, you have this disdain, you have this, hatred this distrust, if you will, towards AEW by the WWE Defenders, as they're called, is for these three reasons. One, like I said, they don't want to admit, they, along with the fan base and those that are working within and competing for the company, don't want to admit that they too, like WWE, are a sports entertainment company and sports entertainment in general. 2, that they're nothing more than a modern day version of WCW and eat with a bit of ECW sprinkled in. And 3, again, as ridiculous as it may sound, because even I feel it's ridiculous to even acknowledge, and I did a video on it basically saying that this is not true, but this is another reason why you have these defenders of WWE, bashers of AEW saying all this. The third and final reason is they believe AEW is secretly run and owned by WWE to some extent, and they have all this proof and everything to show that, from the talents going directly to AEW instead of maybe going to Japan, Impact, PWG, MLW, maybe taking a break for a while from wrestling. They noticed that that's the direct path is from WWE to AEW. The other reason, as some would point out, if you looked at the copyright for the closed captioning after a show is over, sometimes it'll say World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, some could say that was a mistake on the network's part, or that was just copied and pasted on their screen, kind of snapshotted in there to, basically prove a point that isn't true. But whatever the case may be, they make all these ridiculous connections and feel that the other reason why, they can't, love AEW, why they can't trust AEW and all that, is because of the fact that they are secretly run by WWE, and nobody, not the fans, nobody, not anybody within, AEW or even competing for it, want to admit that to be true. Which, again, people like me honestly know is not true, because if that was the case, there is no way, one, Martha Hart, who is Owen Hart's wife, would have agreed to this to any extent, do the partnership and all that between the Owen Hart Foundation and All Elite Wrestling. And 2, there's no chance whatsoever that Phil Brooks, CM Punk, would even sign with the company if there was any facts to back up what people assume to be, the unbridled truth, which it isn't. And again, these are just 3 reasons from my perspective, why a lot of people, the WWE Defenders / AEW Bashers, say the things they do and all that about AEW. And again, here's what's funny. I don't think they totally hate them, full on. I don't think they full on hate the company. I just think they hate the fact that they don't want to admit to any of these things that I admitted. And that, in their minds, if they come out and admit, if Tony Khan comes out and admits, yes, All Elite Wrestling is sports entertainment, we are a sports entertainment company, and then maybe comes out at the same time and says, yes, we are WCW 2.0 for the modern day era with a bit of ECW sprinkled in, and then maybe third comes out and says, oh yeah, we are secretly in partnership with WWE, and they're the reason we're able to get on TNT, and da-da-da-da-da. Then, if they'd admit those things, then the bashers of AEW, WWE Defenders, probably would remove those little that bit of hatred that they have for the company, because they finally acknowledge, what they feel is the truth, or what they want to hear. And because they haven't heard that yet, they basically feel that AEW is denying a lot of stuff, and basically because they're denying a lot of these things, they're easy to bash. They're easy to they're easy to defend WWE against, because of the fact that they along with the fan base won't open their eyes and see the light and tell the truth, if you know what I mean. But again, I don't think, as crazy as this sounds, I don't think these WWE Defenders, AEW Bashers, I don't think they truly hate AEW. I think they just hate the fact that AEW, from their point of view, is not acknowledging the truth. And that truth, from their point of view, from their mindset, is you are a sports entertainment company like WWE. You are WCW for a new, era, for a new modern era with a bit of ECW sprinkled in. And 3, you are secretly run and owned by WWE or partnered with WWE to an extent, which is why you're able to get all these talents and stuff. So, so to me, I don't think they full on hate them. They just hate from their point of view that they're not admitting the truth or some acknowledgement to any of the things that I just mentioned. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the WWE Defenders / AEW Bashers truly hate AEW? Or do you think they just hate them for the things I mentioned? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Like the video. Comment during the live chat as well. And check me out at my Teespring store. Check me out on Patreon at BW Roses Brian Warmer. As well as check me out on BW Roses discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. As well as check me out on Vimeo at BW Roses for any PMVs, pony music videos, fan vids music videos, AMVs, if you will, that cannot be seen here due to copyright most times. So you can check them out there if you want to do that. And again, that's all I really wanted to say in response to Alex's video, because again, I, like a lot of people, don't think Alex is a WWE hater. I think Alex just wants the product, like a lot of us, to make it better. I think he just wants it to be better. But again, the reason I did this video, kind of in response and kind of looking at it from another side of things that being the Bashers, the Defenders, the AEW Bashers, the WWE Defenders. In my opinion, I don't think they totally hate AEW. I think they just hate that AEW won't admit to the top three things, as I look at it, that they feel they should admit to maybe soothe that hatred away and basically be accepted and not bashed on, if by these people anymore, if at all. But let me know what your thoughts are, and I'm out.